So I can't remember if I've actually done a video on this before, but um, do your best to try and understand the other person's side and if you can't, put your emotions to the side. So this is like nothing new. So it's like, like the 7 habits of highly effective people. First seek to understand and then be understood. And it sounds so much easier than it actually is, but it can go in so many different ways. And one of the like the easiest things to explain is I have a 3-year-old. So I'm a little bit older. I'm 45, and I have like typically like people would have like a child like that younger. And I have two older kids too. I've got a 13 and a 9. So I have the older children as well. But it's kind of the easiest way to explain what I'm talking about. So recently, I was in a position where I couldn't immediately get to him to like help him out. And it wasn't really like he wasn't by any means in danger. But he's like started to freak out, and I was within close proximity of him. But I couldn't get to him right away. And he started to like, daddy, 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 daddy. And I kept saying, it's okay. Verbally, it was like right there. It was with him like 5 feet of him. So it wasn't like anything like by any means like crazy or alarming. But for him, it was. So that's like my long-winded point. For me, it was just like, okay, dude, like I'll get to you in 1 second. Like just give daddy a second just to be. But to him, he's 3. He like automatically said, oh my God, my daddy's not right there in front of me and I can't be with him. Like, ah, da, da, da. And the mistake that I made was that I got upset. And then we were in Walmart. And when I was able to get to him, I was like, like I was just getting frustrated because I was trying to do a couple different things, at the same time. And I said, like I kind of took it as like, God, like let me just, or gosh, let me just, gosh, let me just, let me just take care of it. I've got a lot going on and da 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 da. And so instead, I just sort of went into my vibes of like, like this is so frustrating, and why can't he just wait? And I'm doing so much for them, and da 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 da. So anyways, like I just kind of like started walking, and he's like, daddy, daddy. He just started getting worse. He started, daddy, 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 daddy. And so we were like walking through Walmart, and he was screaming his head off. I'll definitely have a much like greater understanding of anybody that has, like small kids. And I suggest that you do too as well, because it's not always, controllable, and you got to think about what that person's going through. Same thing with me. But the point that I'm trying to make is that, really when I sat, like at the end, I got really upset, and I was very, like, oh, like this is so frustrating. But really, all he needed, I realized after the fact that he was scared, that he was, and again, he was in no danger whatsoever. He was in absolutely no danger, but he was scared, and he like needed his dad. And it was sort of like that like, oh my God, I can't see my dad. I can't see my dad. And what I realized was that, a simple fix would have been, is if I had, like tried to put myself in if I had switched the tables and looked from his perspective and said, okay, what's going on with him right now? And if I just calmed down and thought about it from his perspective, I would have realized that he was nervous and he was scared. And a simple, like getting down at his level and hugging him and telling him that, like, it's okay. Daddy's never going to leave you, honey. As long as daddy, like, is alive, knock on wood, daddy's going to be there for you. And he's always going to, like, do everything that can protect you. He's not going to leave you. And again, I know I'm talking to like a 3-year-old, so it's not totally different, but it's a little different. But what I will say is that, I think and I've talked about this in some of my other videos, but about a year and a half ago, I went through a pretty hard divorce. And what I realized was that at the I was same thing. It was like now that was like an adult to adult. That was my at that time my wife. I was constantly like, oh well, this is how this makes me feel, and this is ridiculous about this, and me, rather than just kind of switching. That's one of the biggest. That's the biggest lessons I learned. I learned many of them, but one of the bigger lessons that I've learned throughout divorce was that if I kind of switched, and if I never turned and looked at from her perspective about what I was doing and how I felt and what I like basically how I was coming to the table and how I was affecting her. Same thing with my son, is that if I had just thought about it from his perspective and I had got down on a knee at his eye to eye, I hugged him and said, it's going to be okay. It would have been a much different situation, and I could have gone on with my day like feeling better about myself rather than feeling worse because I just got like all like upset about it. But you know, the point basically is do your best to try and like, if you can, like mentally turn around and think about how what you're doing is affecting that other person, or more importantly, or just as importantly, think about what that person is going through and how you could probably help this situation rather than by making it worse. And again, like it's sort of by me in both situations with with my son, him freaking out, and with my now ex-wife, if I had just looked at it from their perspective of what they needed, then I could have been a true leader. I could have been somebody that like was really trying to help out. I could have been a good father in that situation with my son. I could have been a good husband and possibly like made things better or worked with my marriage. Again, I'm not going to take full blame for it, but I will take blame for stuff of in that nature, because simply I'm just I need to look at it from their perspective. So it's really the gist of this video. It's like a really long video, if you will, about just saying that one of the, again, this channel is really designed so that I can pass on the lessons that I've learned in my life, to mostly to my children, but to anybody that wants to be a part of it can listen to it. And then sort of have this be, not sort of, this is my vlog of like the lessons that I've learned in life. And one of the big lessons I've learned is that if you can, in the moment, you can turn around and you can really be in the moment with them at that time, and see how what you're doing is affecting them, and not always selfishly. As a human, your natural thing is going to be, I'm going to be selfish and I'm going to try as much as I can to like think about me in that situation. But the whole human race would probably be so much better off if we just thought about what it was that was going on in that other person's mind, and what can I do to help this situation, rather than just think about myself and make it worse. Because if you just start thinking about yourself, you're probably just going to make it worse, rather than you could probably actually make it, not probably, you could definitely make it better by just trying to understand where that person's coming from as well. And then, again, it probably will help make your life easier as well. I don't know. What do you think?